Kia ora koutou. Welcome everyone to the first committee rātonga o Te Awa Karangi, Hutt Valley Services Committee for the Terranium. My name is Jared Griffiths, the Director of Strategy and Engagement at Hutt City Council, and I will chair the meeting until the committee appoints a chair. Please familiarise yourself with the emergency procedures shown on screen if this is your first time at Langs Road. And can I also ask that if you have a mobile device that you switch it to silent for this meeting. Please join me for the opening karakia. Me karakia tātou. Tuea te mana aki aki, rāranga hia te mana rangatira, kia tipu, kia puawai, e ripo nā wai, o Te Awa Karangi, he kaitiaki ki te whenua, he oranga taio, he oranga tangata, haumi e, hui e, tā ki e. No apologies have been received for this meeting, but could I ask members if there's any apologies for early departure? No. So we'll move through to the election of the chair and deputy chair. I'll now call for nominations for the position of chair. I have a nomination for Councillor Naomi Shaw. Can I ask for a seconder? Councillor Tonga Grant. So now that I have a mover and a seconder, I'll put the motion. Can I please ask that all those in favour say aye? Those against, no. I declare that motion carried. Congratulations, Councillor Shaw. Now I hand over the meeting to you to chair.
Thank you, Jared. And a very warm welcome to our Upper Hutt City Council colleagues, to our chambers, and just a reminder that after this meeting there's a cuppa on for us in the retiring room. Right, on to election of the Deputy Chair. I nominate Councillor Bill Hammond from Upper Hutt City Council as the Deputy Chair of the Hutt Valley Services Committee. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ultra. Are there any further nominations? No. I therefore nominate that Councillor Bill Hammond be appointed as Deputy Chair of the Hutt Valley Services Committee for 2026. I have a mover and a seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Any against? I declare the motion carried. Congratulations, Councillor Hammond. I don't believe there's any public comment. Does anybody have a conflict of interest declaration in regards to this paper today? None? Right, moving on to item number 6, proposed meeting dates for 2026. I refer you to page 5 of the agenda. Do any members have any questions? I therefore move that the committee adopts the following schedule of meetings for 2026 as outlined in numbers number 1A, B and C. 2, agrees to adopt the following schedule of pre-agenda meetings for 2026 as outlined in number 2A, B and C. 3, agrees that the pre-agenda meetings for 2026 will be held via Microsoft Teams. And 4, delegates authority to the Chief Executives of the two councils in consultation with the chair to alter the date, time or venue of a meeting or cancel a meeting should circumstances require this. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hammond. Is there any discussion? I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Any against? I declare the motion carried. On to item number 7, wastewater joint venture update for 1 October 2025 to 31 January 2026. I refer you to page 7 of the agenda. I invite Hamish Bell, Advisor of Water Services for Hutt City Council, to speak to the item. And we also have Blair Johnson, Head of Wastewater Contracts from Wellington Water, will also be in attendance.
Uh,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Kia ora, Madam Chair, and can I just say it's a pleasure to be kicking off this committee for the Trainium. So I'm not going to speak to this is a Wellington Water report, so I'll let Wellington Water speak to this report and take some of your questions. So just from Wellington Water here today, we've got Jeremy McKibben, Group Manager, Treatment and Control Systems, Blair Johnson, Head of Wastewater Contracts, Luke Rushton, Program Delivery Lead, and Steve Hutchinson, who's the Chief Advisor for Wastewater. And I'll hand it over to Jeremy to speak to the report.
Kia ora, everyone. So I'll take the report as read. Just a couple of updates since the report was submitted. Effluent compliance continues to be non-compliant for suspended solids and faecal coliforms at the plant. Sustained and reliable compliance will depend on the completion of further planned renewal works. We have started work to repair a leak on the main outfall pipe at Marine Parade in Eastbourne. This means that fully treated wastewater has had to have been diverted to the Waibatu stream while repairs are undertaken. We are aiming to have this repaired early next week and brought into service following that. Stage 2 of the odour treatment project has been commissioned with a few minor issues being worked through. We have received the final draft of the independent report on the odour works, which notes the success of stage 1 and 2 and makes recommendations which we will be used to inform our options for stage 3. And I'm pleased to say overall odour complaints are low. The UV replacement project is underway with temporary bypass work having started, and we have also signed the construction contract for the new dryer, and work on site starts today. Happy to take any questions.
Do any members have any questions? We'll start with you, Councillor Ultra.
Sorry, through you, Chair. I just wanted to ask about points 4 and 5 with references to discharge events during wet weather, and I realise that it's infiltration of stormwater into the system, and so as pipes are repaired, should we expect that to reduce? So like any damage to pipes is going to let the water infiltrate, and are there any other ways that mitigation can happen to reduce the stormwater infiltration?
Repairing pipes is a long and slow process in terms of having a noticeable impact, because there are so many, such a large number of pipes. So obviously focuses on the pipes that are in the worst condition that could collapse, as well as cause infiltration. So it helps, but it's not a quick fix. Would be the short answer. The main mitigation work is probably in the planning to replace that outfall pipe and replace it with one with more capacity, so that those overflows to the Waipetū stream can be reduced a lot more.
Any further questions, Councillor Puketapu?
Good morning. Thank you for your reports and for the updates. Just 2 questions regarding point 5. Can you help me understand, I'm just reading about I've been reading about the partially treated unauthorised discharge. Could you help me understand what that actually means? I understand what it means in theory, but what that means on the impact for the discharge. And then the second question is, it looks like there's some investigation that's going to be happening. What's the time frame in regards to the reporting back of the investigation outcomes?
Yes, thank you for the questions. So partially treated discharge means that the discharge that either goes to Pencarrow at Bluff Point, the long outfall, or the short outfall discharge to Waipetū stream has not gone through the full treatment process. In these 2 particular circumstances, it's been through the full treatment, biological treatment process, but no UV treatment or disinfection, which means the final stage of effluent treatment hasn't occurred for the period of the discharge. Sorry, you have to remind me of the second question.
Sure. The second question was just the time frame you would expect in regards to the investigations around that you're taking?
Yeah, so we usually normally get a final discharge report within a couple of weeks from the discharge. In certain circumstances, like the main outfall pump shutdown, we don't have that yet. That's still being investigated, but we should have it shortly.
Thank you. Councillor McLeod?
Through you, Chair. If you had everything that you needed, what could you do, or how could we not have discharge at all, except through the proper channels? The Waifatu stream, you know, the outfalls, how can we not have any at all?
As I mentioned in my earlier response, the main issue is that capacity as well as the reliability of the main pump station, main outfall pipeline. So replacing that pump station and outfall with a larger, I guess more robust one would be the main way that we could reduce and eliminate discharges to the Waifatu stream. It is also worth noting there are overflows upstream in the network of untreated wastewater, which are caused by capacity, limitations versus and overloading from the infiltration in the network. So that's also a strong consideration.
Councillor Dyer?
Thank you. Obviously, the current situation with our outfall pipe, this is the first time in a long time we've been discharging the Waifu stream for quite a long period of time. Previously, it's been sort of little outages here and there. I've seen lots of people's opinions on how treated the treated water is, ranging from it's safe to drink to it's not safe to swim in. Do we know how, I'm assuming you know how, but maybe you don't have an answer now, though I'll be impressed if you do, how treated the treated water is? And is there a risk that if it goes on for longer, does it keep getting worse the more it builds up in the harbour, or is it so treated that we can keep doing that for weeks and it not be an issue long term?
The normal treatment standard is not safe to swim in directly. So even when the plant's working at its best, working compliantly, it's still not safe to swim in. It's treated to a level that after several hundred metres dilution at a marine high energy location like the Penkaro Bluff Point outfall, then it will be safe. There's a mixing zone of, I think it's 400 metres out there. So when it goes into the Waifatu stream, the stream is generally not safe to swim in anyway, but it's still not safe to swim in. There's dilution in the Hutt River, but we put up signage to advise people not to swim or take kaimoana from that area because of that public health risk. At the moment, as we mentioned, the plant is not compliant with its normal standard, its normal resource consent, so there's an increased risk of that, the viruses and the microbiological contaminants which people can get sick of directly. In terms of longer term impact, those abate fairly quickly with flows, tidal flows and river flows, so it's not a long term impact, but it is a short term risk of contact.
And the current outage with the pipe, is this an unconsented or consented discharge into Waifatu?
We have consents for that pipe to undergo planned and unplanned maintenance, so it is consented. There are timeframes with that consent that the repair has to be done within 2 weeks. So it is consented, yes.
It'll be fixed by next week, so we're all good.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh?
Through you, Chair. I've just got some questions mostly around the odour treatment, sections 11 and 13. With that work and our consent conditions, are we also monitoring the Silverstream tip area when we take sludge and monitoring complaints from that odour? I see we've got some extra odour monitors that have gone in. Is there potential work in the to put odour detectors around the tip area for that purpose?
So when we have wet sludge being diverted to the Silverstream landfill, so there's communication through a couple of channels. So we have a list of interested parties with the Seaview plant, And then we work with the Silverstream landfill around communication with the locals in that area as well. And I guess it's up to the landfill to monitor the impact from that, but we're very conscious of the potential impact there.
Sorry, just a clarification. So it's on the landfill, even though our consent says that we shouldn't be discharging odours outside the plant? So if we take the material outside the plant, is that the responsibility of the plant or the tip?
It's the responsibility of the landfill to monitor that. We do track odour complaints when there's wet sludge being transported to the Silverstream landfill. We do track odour complaints. So the last time that this happened, I don't think we received any. So we do keep track of that, but there's within the landfill.
Sorry, I'm just wondering, when you say you haven't received any, I just wonder whether there may be a miscommunication between complaints that go through Upper Hutt City Council and Hutt City Council, because I'm pretty sure there were complaints from our end about that correlated with.
Okay, well, I can look into that with our landfill.
Awesome, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councillor Ultra, do you have another question?
Through you, Chair. Point 13 on odour monitoring. What will the response be if odour detectors detect odour in any of the sites that they're monitoring?
So the odour monitors themselves detect to a very, very low level of odour. And so we generally pick up trace odour, particularly at the plant, to monitors that are located at the plant. So that allows us to help keep an eye on odour, if you like, or a nose on odour, if you like, as well as what we normally do around the plant operations. So if there is a spike, it allows us the opportunity to get in and have a look at what's maybe going on and what may be the potential source. Generally, they were installed to provide the community with an opportunity to see what was happening in there at the plant and also in two localities, north and south, pretty much of the plant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have another question? No. Can you turn your mic off, please?
I did have one more, if
Okay.
that's okay. Thank
Yep.
you, through you, Chair. Well, after this catastrophic failure at Moa Point and looking through this paper and seeing the amount of replacements and renewals that are needed to be done at Seaview, what would the plan be if there was a catastrophic event where sewage was going into the Wellington Harbour? Because Remo has a, bucket system. So if all the pipes were broken from a major earthquake and we had to use buckets instead of flushing toilets because all the pipes were broken, at what point does a catastrophic failure become so severe that we wouldn't be able to flush our toilets?
I'll take that. It really depends on the event and the severity of the event. So something like an earthquake won't affect the whole city, the same way. It'll be so any response to an earthquake type event will be very much based on where the damage is and what the damage is. The treatment plant itself has had seismic strengthening done to it because it's a critical asset. Some of the pipelines to the plant have been progressively, replaced with more resilient pipes. The Barber Grove Barber Grove pump station down to the Seaview plant, you may recall, was in the previous term was replaced with a modern plastic pipe that would be more resilient to earthquakes. So the plant has had strengthening work to be more resilient, but the pipes that feed down to the plants and the pump stations they're more vulnerable to earthquakes and landslides and that sort of thing. If it was a major event, it would really depend on the situation. Remo would lead the response, and there may be water supply outages, which restrict the use of toilets in any event. And then beyond that, it would be just managing it as best we could and repairing it as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Councillor Dyer.
Sorry, just one more quick one from me. Obviously, without knowing the full issues at Moa Point yet, how confident are you that we couldn't have a similar situation happen at Seaview? And is that something you've looked at yet?
I mean, it's obviously quite a different setup at Moa Point, with it being pretty much a vertical plant, and yeah, I mean the issues there, and we're still working through all the drivers of that, but that we conceivably could lose the I guess the ability to treat to the levels we are now, and so if that was to occur, we do have facility to divert water bypass the treatment process, so we could deal with it that way, but no, we're not exposed in the same way to flooding issues from the process like we did there.
I also have a follow-up question to Councillor Dyers. Do we have some target dates for the completion of the strategic plan for the outfall pipeline renewal?
We'd have to get back to you on that. I'm not close enough to that work at the moment to know the dates off the top of my head.
Thank you. Councillor Welch.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Because it kind of relates to point 30, so I'll mention it now. The impact of the current fault that's being repaired on the outflow pipe, has that shed any light on the root causes of the performance issues?
We have had many joint failures on that outfall pipe ever since it was put into commission in 1962. It's almost one a year, so it's not unexpected. We've had a good run the last couple of years, but yeah. I think 2022 we had 3 joint failures. So there's been a lot of studies done. The rubber rings are the weakest link in that pipe. There are over 4,000 individual concrete pipe sections over the 18 kilometres, and the rubber rings are, because of the nature of the joints being hand finished rather than machine finished, and the nature of the rubber, the rubber rings just blow.
So
we have part of the Waikato stream discharges is that to reduce those joint failures, we have reduced the maximum pressure in that pipe over the years.
Yep.
It's happened twice, 1984, 2013. So that's reduced its capacity, but it's reduced the number of joint failures. So the pipe is fragile, and replacement planning is underway accordingly. Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Councillor Welch.
Sorry, while I'm here. Point 23 about the new dryer replacement. Just wanted to check that that's 2 dryers. Yep. And with that, there was about a 70 to 80% projected funding increase. Do we have a reason why that? Is that just inflation, or is there other reasons why that was required?
This is with the project costs, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
the
for
total cost of the
point
project?
23, the new dryers that are going in.
Yeah, so councillors will be aware that there has been a change to the costs for that project. And this was reported in commercially sensitive to council's end of late last year. But essentially so there's been we asked Wellington Water to undertake some work to get some assurance around the total cost of that project. So Wellington Water have worked with the contractor with Downer to undertake 3 high-level estimates of the project over the last few months of the year. So that pulled together the total outturn cost, which has been approved by the Wellington Water Board, and that and has allowed for the issuing of the separable portion B, so that's for the detailed design and the construction of the new dryer facility to be undertaken. So So that's where we got to with that.
Okay, so it was just underfunded and didn't realise at the time.
So I guess the question is why the increase from the original
Yeah,
price
from the
now?
original.
I think it was just underestimated, and
Okay.
we've got more clarity. There's been a number of reasons why the movement, and I guess budget from what was originally estimated was quite far out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and I've got a follow-up question to the dryer. It's been an ongoing issue for the last couple of years. So is there a plan B for a catastrophic dryer breakdown prior to the December 27 replacement?
The approach at the moment is to, my team's job is to ensure that Veolia keeps the existing dryer operational. Now, as the council will be aware, the committee will be aware, the dryer is at end of life, and it's a very large, hot and mechanical system, subject to a lot of wear and maintenance. So our response to the issues that we've had in the past is to step up the maintenance program and the proactive maintenance program. And the reality of the situation is the only plan B we have is to truck wet sludge to Silverstream. So our program, our inspection program of the dryer has been stepped up. As you will have read in the report, there's been some welding work done on the trunnion rings, which is one of the main areas of concern. There's another shutdown in planning at the moment before the end of the financial year to do some more mechanical work on the dryer. And so that program we felt was the best approach to ensure ongoing reliable service as best we could, rather than some major component replacements that would be short-lived and very, very expensive.
Thank you, members. Are there any further questions? No. I'd just like to thank you guys for hosting both councils out at the Seaview treatment plant. It was a really interesting visit. Certainly gave us all some insights into how it all operates. We really appreciate that. I also appreciate that you're currently under intense scrutiny at the moment. So I appreciate you coming in today, and there's been some good questions come from the floor as well. I move that the committee receives and notes the information. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Puketapu. As I have a mover and a seconder, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Any against? I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. We're now moving on to item number 8, the quarterly report on the Silverstream landfill. I refer you to page 19 of the agenda, and I ask Matthias Vest, Waste and Resource Recovery Manager, to speak to the item.
Kia ora. Just saying, I take this report as read, but we have one addition to that. We had that severe weather event on the 15th and 16th, and as a response, Hutt City Council implemented a waiver for green waste at the landfill, which was from the 17th to the 1st of March. That was 13 days, and over those 13 days, we had 3,697 vehicle drop-offs and a total of 626 tons of green waste brought to the landfill. That's roughly 3.5 months worth of green waste in 13 days. So we had, on the first weekend, over the 2 days, we had 200 tons of green waste dropped off alone, which is basically what we usually collect in 1 month. So that was a huge influx of traffic to the landfill, a huge influx of customers or people coming to the landfill. And I just want to highlight that the waste management team and the staff at the landfill did a great job to manage this huge increase in work, and we're quite fast on their feet to pivot to make that happen. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthias. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Hammond.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I'd imagine that half of the trailers were from you coming up there. But yeah, thank Hutt City Council. That was great to waive the fees for the green waste. It was noted that at some stage there was a 2-hour wait to get in there, but I suppose if it's free, everyone's going to do that. But I do have a comment that came through Facebook a couple of weeks ago regarding the smell, and it reads here: could we please do something about the smell at the tip at Upper Hutt, Silverstream, Field Street, Sunbury Street area? Sometimes it's so horrific you can't open doors or windows or hang out washing. So many complaints have been made by myself and my neighbours since I moved here 3 years ago and before that, and nothing's been done. It's like opening a bin of week-old food in your face. It's horrible. Have you had any knowledge of this, and is there anything that's going to be done about that?
Yeah, as you can see in the attachment to our report, we have only in the same period like two complaints received. My general advice is for us to know about the odor complaints. Those have to come to Hutt City Council. So it's basically, if you receive any complaints, please pass them on so that we can put them into the system. And it is for us also, we have a established process which goes right away to our engineers, and they then go to the landfill to see what's going on. It is with smell, it is always a little bit difficult. It obviously depends on the weather and the wind directions, and it's actually the calm days which are the difficult days. But we can proudly say that we are the landfill in the region with the lowest complaints on odor. Obviously, if we are missing a lot from Upper Hutt, then that's would not work in our favor, to be honest. But there are landfills which get on a weekly basis regular complaints, and we receive usually just 1 or 2 a month, and or 1 or 2 a quarter. I'm sorry. And so we are trying to do our best. We also, what was raised earlier from Councillor Welch with the sludge deliveries. We have a process in place how to handle that, and we cover the sludge immediately. So we have a pit where the wet sludge goes in, and then we cover each load as soon as possible so that we generate the least amount of odor and keep it where it's supposed to be, basically. Yeah, so we're trying our best and do what we can. Sometimes the weather just doesn't help.
Councillor Ultra.
Through you, Chair. On odour, does it make a difference whether you're receiving wet sludge or dry sludge from the wastewater treatment plant? And how hard is it to manage wet sludge and bury it? It must be like burying jelly.
Good question. Yes. So there's a huge difference between dry sludge and wet sludge. Dry sludge is orders of magnitude less smelly, and our basically the dry sludge, we don't have special processes around. We just treat that as any other waste going to the landfill. It's tipped and distributed on the pile and gets it's covered up with a daily cover. So that's the difference. For wet sludge, we obviously also have the problem that it is liquid, so you can't just dump it. It will go everywhere. So we need a pit. So what we usually do is that when we get the call from the wastewater treatment plant that they have an outage, that we get a digger in and make that pit. And then the trucks come and they just pour it into that pit, and there it stays, and then we cover it up as after every load, basically. Just so that and then once we know there's no more sludge coming, then we put a significant cover over it so that we have also the compaction again. And we additionally we add a horizontal gas extraction pipe over it in the cover material. That has two benefits. First of all, the sludge from the landfill generates quite a lot of methane. So if we capture that, first of all, it's good for the power plant, but also for our effort to reduce emissions. Second of all, those methane gases, that's what's smelly. So we are sucking that deliberately away from those pits. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So do you think it would be helpful if there were odour monitors in the areas around where the closest communities of Stokes Valley and Silverstream?
I have to come back on that to you. I'm not, well, first of all, I started in this role 4 months ago, and I haven't come across that question before, and I'm not too aware how helpful monitors are in this area. Odor is very difficult to monitor from a technical perspective. Our nose is a lot more sensitive than most monitors. So, and our noses work differently. Some noses are more sensitive than others. So, and that's where the only method I know is that you send someone with a trained nose, and they basically give you a rating from I don't know 1 to 10, okay. and that's how I am aware of those the procedures basically around it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd just like to follow up on that because I think it's a very good question, and I guess you guys are there in a bit of a lose-lose. You get a northerly and you hear from Stokes Valley, and it's a southerly, and we hear from Silverstream. But odour monitoring, especially when wet sludge is being delivered to the tip, could be possibly a good solution for that. If you can have a look at that and come back to us at some stage. Any more questions? Councillor McLeod.
Through you, Chair, I just wanted to pick up on that too, that I heard before discussion around that odour is actually part of the consenting around the sludge. But also I just want to pick up on Councillor Hammond, who was talking about, the complaints that we're having. And I think I heard you say you haven't had any, or you've only had 1 or 2 from Upper Hutt. So I think we need to find out what's happening with those complaints that are going to the Upper Hutt City Council, because if you're not getting them, I don't know that there's necessarily a lot of people in Upper Hutt will understand they need to tell Hutt City Council. So it's really just a comment that the odour thing, I think we need to come back to that because it is a big problem for some of us. The second question I have, if I may, Chair, is around, is there any expectation at some stage in the future that we might be able to have those behaviours that we would like to encourage, such as recycling, to be outside of the wire, so to speak, to be back, so that people don't actually have to pay per tonne for their recycling? Is there some way or a better way of ensuring that we are encouraging using the recycling stations, because there's lots of different things to do in there in future? Thank you.
Yeah, just because we find a way to recycle material doesn't mean that it is cost effective or that we can do that free of charge. Most recycling processes, or let's say it this way, those recycling processes where you can make a profit with, they work already. That's basically the gold collection, the silver collection, the lead batteries. That has been established on its own because people can make money with it. The council is then left with everything else, what actually doesn't pay. And that's why we need to charge people to drop off things for recycling, because we are charged as well for that. So I understand making that free of charge might attract a little bit more recycling, but always from what I've seen in the past, that I don't think making it free of charge will be a big enough incentive to change things. There have been a lot of approaches overseas with all kind of behavior change, and also creating incentives on even penalties if you don't behave, basically. And all trials don't get past like a diversion rate of 50%. So there is always still a significant amount of waste left. And in our case, we are not close to those 50%, but I don't, yeah, from what I know, I don't think it will make a difference. I hope that answered your question.
Follow-up question, Councillor McLeod?
Yes, might I test that? Through you, Chair, so the perception that that recycling, when it's covered by rates, is free, the perception that it's free, have you noticed that same behaviour, or have you noticed the same costs that you're talking about with the recycling at Silverstream landfill to be the same with the recycling picked up along the streets through your ratepayer funded service?
Yeah, so the the curbside collection system, which gets sorted at the Seaview plant, that's obviously also not free of charge. We are paying every month for that service by tonnage, and we are also getting penalties for contamination rates. So there will be done scoop tests, which basically then where someone actually picks through it and separates it into every bits and pieces, and the things which shouldn't be in there, that's then defines how much penalty we get. Recycling is not for free. It's just and in a way we are, I think, we should adhere to users pay approach here as well, because it's significant amounts of money. And if we would take that all on the ratepayer, and it is basically also not a fair distribution often, because not all, or for we also don't have the same amount of waste generated by the same people. Or if we would make it free, we would get a lot of businesses as well using that, and that would be just not a fair approach from my perspective.
Further to that, Madam Chair, so, and through you, so my question is probably more around incentive for the general public to recycle. And so the perception for them, for many, is that it's free because it's paid for in rates. And we've got people that are taking recycling through the landfill are paying to recycle. I understand the cost of recycling. What I'm trying to determine is the behaviour we're wanting to see, because we need to recycle, repurpose, reuse, all those really good things, you know, for some very good reasons. And what I'm wanting to see is how we get that behaviour. And so if we're not getting it because they're paying to take it to the tip, but we are getting it because it's a ratepayer funded service, you know, they kind of don't match that kind of concept of paying to go to the tip and not paying to put it out on Tama Street in Petone. Do you understand what I'm asking? Why the difference? Why are we not free at the tip as well as free, in inverted commas.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I can't give you right now an exact answer how we would do that. Yeah, but just keep in mind, at the landfill, we are recycling a lot more different materials than we collect at the curbside. The only material I can think of which is the same is the cardboard. So, but that's at the tip and a service for us if you have really huge amount of cardboard for whatever reason you got. Then it makes still sense to go to the landfill for that. But everything else are different materials which you wouldn't be able to put in your curbside collection. And the curbside collection, I think, works because it's convenient and easy to do. And yeah.
Can I just add something to that? I did note in the report that there has been an increase in the voucher system at the tip where people can drop off their recycling. So that's really good to see. So there is some sort of credit there. And I have to say that every fortnight I'm very grateful to see my big yellow bin taken away, which I'm happy to pay for, compared to the old days when we had a small bin and all of it blew down the street. And that wasn't so long ago. So really appreciate the recycling system that Hutt City Council have in place at the moment. Are there any further questions? Councillor Puikitapu.
Thank you, Chair. Just two questions. The first one might be pretty obvious, but I want to ask it anyway. It relates to point 21.22. I'm assuming when we're talking about the assistance of plant regrowth, it's around reforestation as opposed to edible plants. Yeah, great. Thank you. The second question is about point 25 and 26, the asbestos destruction demonstration. Noting that I've probably been in this role as long as what you've been in and how long you've been in your role. So appreciate also that if you can't answer these questions, it's you might need to come back on it. But I'm curious to understand what are the sort of outcomes that we're hoping to achieve as a result of this demonstration around the asbestos technology, and also the what we would do, or what have been some of the examples. I know we've noted one example here about how that technology turns asbestos into the powder as such. But what are our thoughts on the demonstration, and what are we hoping to achieve first? And then secondly, if we do decide that it's a great technology, what is the financial consideration there?
Thank you, Councillor. So let me start with the remediation of the borough areas. It's something a project which we really are quite proud of. We tried, basically we have those borough areas where we extract material which we need for our daily operation of the landfill. And when we're done, it's basically stripped. It's like a quarry. And so we're trying to remediate it afterwards so that it goes back to the original forest it used to be. This time, what we try to do is just to improve the soil by using biosolids from the wastewater treatment plant. We've done some trials beforehand, and we got also the approval from Greater Wellington, and we also involved Manawhenua on their opinion on that project. And in the end, and that was basically the reason why we didn't use any plants that create any fruits, basically. And what we found out, it works really well. It's a good fertilizer for the trees, and we have a good uptake for that. And we are trying to scale that up in the future with other projects, also maybe around the Hutt City Council projects in general. Good. Your second question, the asbestos destruction demolition or demonstration plant, that's really a very interesting project. It's a New Zealand company who has developed a technology that they have like ball mills, which are very, very, yeah, I don't want to go into details, but they smash the material to really fine powder and puts so much energy in it that it changes the crystalline structure of the asbestos. Asbestos is a crystal which grows in really very thin fibers, and those fibers are the problem. And when you treat it with those ball mills, they manage to change the crystalline structure in an amorphous structure, which is a glass kind of structure, and that is not hazardous anymore for us. So it is actually a really, really interesting idea, and when I came into the role, I was quite skeptical about it because my background as an engineer and materials engineer and processing, I thought that can't be right, but actually they proved me wrong. It is possible. And so I really think it is a very, very promising idea to treat asbestos materials, especially those materials which are very high in asbestos, like your roofing tiles. It is, that's why we are supporting it, to do that trial. And we actually hope that my long-term hope is that we can get a few of those plants, similar like the SAF as well, situated at the landfill, because it is already a place where people know to bring their materials, and it is treated there and then diverted from the landfill and goes somewhere else into a proper use. So this is really, really an opportunity that maybe extends the life of the landfill by, I don't know, 5 to 10 years if it's really successful and we have that up and running. So something we really should be trying to do. Yeah.
Follow-up question, Councillor Puketo.
Sure, thank you for that explanation. And just if you could make comment on the financial elements of it as well, if that's okay.
So we are supporting this trial. Well, the EDL trial was something what came to us for a while ago, and they came with external funding that broke away for some reasons, and we still thought this is a very important idea, and we are supporting it with funding from our it's the Waste Minimization Fund, from the Waste Minimization Fund funding, which we have as Hutt City Council, and we are confident that this investment is actually very good for us as Hutt City Council as well, because it shows that we are trying to do something new here at the landfill, and with this demonstration plant, we actually get the possibility to show it to some of our companies we are working with, and maybe convincing them that they actually invest in that technology and build a proper plant here at the landfill. Yeah. So I see there is a lot of potential for us in there. Yeah.
Thank you. And not from me, I think that's quite exciting that we can actually consider biosolids and asbestos in a potential business activity. So well done on progressing that. Are there any other questions? Councillor Ultra.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I also had a question on remediation of the borough areas, and so you mentioned biosolids. Would that be sewage or food waste or green waste or both?
No, that's basically the dried biosolids from the Seaview wastewater treatment plant. So those we've first of all, it is a small percentage. I can't tell you exactly the number, but it is around those 2 to 5%, something like that, which we mix into the soil. So it is quite well diluted, and we've done a trial beforehand where we've tested all those obvious questions around contamination and maybe also health implications. And those tests came all back very positive, and as I said, we've we had to do quite a lot of convincing to Greater Wellington to get that Greater Wellington Regional Council to get that approved. So it was not an easy feat to get that done, and they had put quite a lot of scrutiny into this project. But yeah, it is safe to do. That's what I want to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Hammond.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Does Hutt City have any policy on what's going to happen at Spices? I understand that they are going to pull out in a couple of years, and there's another tips being set up in Horowhenua, but there'll be commercial waste from Porua that'll probably be diverted to Silverstream, which will lessen the lifespan of Silverstream. Do you have a policy of Porua waste or outside area waste, commercial waste coming in?
We have very little control where the waste is coming from. So if people come to our gate, they pay the fee and we take it. That's how it is, basically. It is what we try. The only means we have to direct waste is basically trying not to be the cheapest in town. We are basically making sure that we are not attracting waste from other regions because we are just cheaper in our services. We also have to make sure that we are basically the only class 1 landfill here in the region. There are certain types of waste that only can come to us, and they come sometimes also from further away. And that's basically because there are not that many line class 1 landfills here. Yeah. But yes, we are expecting more waste when Perugia is closing. We are thinking about maybe attracting around 30 to 40% of their waste. Probably quite a substantial amount still would go to Wellington because it's probably easier and closer, better to get there. But a certain amount will basically have the same argument to come then to Silverstream. It's a little bit of 50-50 situation, yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions? Another interesting topic. I'd just like to thank you, Matthias, for your visit to both councils as well, to another really interesting location to visit. And I know that the Silverstream landfill is held in high regard as an area of carrying out some really good practices up there. And really great to see the electric charger open up there recently. So well done on that. I'd also like to thank your staff for going the extra distance during the green waste there. I was amongst those nearly 4,000 people. I'm sure all of us here were at some stage. And I just think that they went above and beyond to deliver that service to residents. So if you can pass our appreciation on, we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I move that the committee receives and notes the information. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dyer. Is there any discussion? Councillor Dyer.
Yeah, thank you so much. And echo what the chair says about the green waste. People going above and beyond definitely wasn't part of their BAU, but they all stepped up and did a great job. If I can help address the questions about Hutt residents paying through their rates for recycling, but also paying at the tip entrance when they get there. Hutt City Council doesn't fund the landfill, so the rates that your ratepayers pay goes to Hutt City Council, doesn't come to Hutt City Council. As Bill mentioned, right now, Porua City Council is consulting on 4 options for the future of Spicer landfill. All 4 of those see Spicer closing and some level of waste going to other landfills in the region, probably Silverstream. So if Hutt wants to see increasing recycling and extending the life of our landfill, then probably considering curbside recycling is a good way forward.
Thank you, councillor Dyer. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those against? No. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, Matthias. We're on to item 9, the Akatarawa Cemetery update. I refer you to page 35 of the agenda and ask Janet Lawson, Open Spaces and Facilities Manager for Upper Hutt City Council, to speak to the item, please.
Kia ora tātou. Thank you for having me. It's my first meeting here since taking over as the Open Space and Facilities Manager just in January, so be kind. I'll take the report as read. It's reasonably straightforward this time. Work has started on the extension project and it's going really well. So I don't think I have anything else to add to the report, so yeah, I'll pass on to questions.
Do members have any questions? Councillor Ultra.
Through you, Chair. I'm wondering if there are any plans to include tikanga Māori hand washing facilities outside of the cemetery gates, whether that be at the main gate or at the Fairview Drive entrance where the works are being done.
Yep, so there's two slightly different issues here. One is the development side and one is the existing cemetery, which neither of which has hand washing facilities external to the cemetery for when people leave. So within the development, yes, that has been looked at and I believe has been incorporated. I will go back and double check to ensure that those setups do meet tikanga properly. The cemetery development won't be on reticulated water, it will be on tank water. So I do need to just make sure that that tank water is acceptable.
Thank you. Supplementary, Chair. I just wondered, so the current buildings on the cemetery grounds, particularly the toilets and current hand washing facilities, where is their water source? I couldn't find it on Explorer maps and I was looking for pipes leading to those water valves and I couldn't identify where the water valves are getting their water from, whether it's bore or the main supply.
So yes, I can't see it mapped on the Explorer maps either, but I have checked in with the staff and they told that the current water supply to those taps in the toilets is through an extension to their reticulation system, but does pass through the cemetery. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? No. And congratulations for working under budget. Well done there. I move that the committee receives the Akatarawa Cemetery update report. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hammond. Is there any discussion? No. We have a mover and a seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Anyone against? No. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, Janet. Item number 10, Hutt Valley Services Committee Forward Programme for 2026. I refer you to page 39 of the agenda. Does anybody have a question? Councillor Ultra, if you can just turn your microphone off, please. Thank you. So then I move that the committee receives and notes the information in the Forward Programme for 2026 attached as Appendix 1 to the memorandum. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Puketapu. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. I declare the motion carried. Closing formalities. Karakia whakamutanga. If we can put that up on the screen, please. If you'd like to join me in karakia. Unahia, unahia, unahia I turu tapanui, kia wātia, kia mama, te nāko, te tinana, te wairua I te ara takatū. Koira e rongo whakarahia a ki kurunga, kia wātia, aira, kua wātia, hau pai marere. Thank you very much, everybody. I declare the meeting closed.